Hi, I'm Nicola Cairncross, and you're listening to the Money Gym podcast, where I interview successful entrepreneurs and investors and ask them if they could go back in time and give their younger selves one big tip about money, what would it be? I really hope you enjoy the show. Yaro Starak of Entrepreneur's Journey is one of the better-known bloggers in the world. Since 2005, through his blog entrepreneurs-journey.com, his email newsletter and his excellent training programs inside the EJ Insider, Yaro Starak has successfully taught thousands of people how to make a full-time income from blogging part-time, how to buy and sell blogs and websites, and how to successfully launch an information product business. In 2008, he packed up his laptop, got on a plane and travelled around the world, stopping in 23 cities in 8 months. He started in Fiji, then went to Hawaii, Vancouver, Toronto, Las Vegas, Chicago, New York, Winnipeg to visit his grandmother, Montreal, Quebec, Glasgow, Edinburgh, London, Brussels, Amsterdam, Paris, Rome, Florence, Venice, Naples, Athens, Dubai, Singapore, and then back home to Australia. He also is a prolific property investor, owning properties in Australia, Vancouver, and the Ukraine. He says, as you can see, if you set up the right kind of internet business, you gain financial freedom and time freedom, which is something most people only dream about, especially if you currently have a day job that you despise. Of course, it wasn't always like this for him, and it's taken a long time to bring together the necessary ingredients to live this sort of lifestyle. Let's hear what Yaro has to say on the topic of money, shall we? So let's talk Yaro. So you made your first 13 grand, which probably was a year's salary for some people, by selling your Magic the Gathering website, and then Better Edit started doing quite well. And I know that you have got a property somewhere, but you're moving around a lot at the moment. What's going on with that?
Well, I'm back in Brisbane right now. I just want to get doing some traveling again. I haven't gone overseas now in 6 years, I think. So I traveled around the world in 2008, but it's once I've actually just relaunched my courses that this is what I'm doing. I'm going to start doing Airbnb and head to the States, and I want to attend some events. But anyway, you're asking a different question. Let's not talk about travel and property.
Well, talk us through your sort of money. Did you come from a comfortable background or a background of entrepreneurs, or were your parents sort of typical employees? Where did your money attitudes come from, and how have they changed over the years?
Well, we weren't middle class for sure. No, there's never wanted for anything, never were rich. My mother was more entrepreneurial in the sense that she never held down a job for longer than 5 years. She kept moving from thing to thing, and there was some long blocks of periods where she'd pay for the bills by having a stall at a local market where she sold arts and crafts, for example. So I certainly, yeah, entrepreneurial. But for me, my mother showed me that you didn't have to have a job, but she also showed me that there was no leverage in what she did, whether it was because she was afraid to grow it to a certain size, or I think for her, and this is what I was going back to, those 3 points are really important. A lot of the time she was doing these businesses because she needed money, but they didn't actually meet her other needs. There was maybe a little bit of creative output, but it really wasn't what she wanted to do. And they certainly weren't making enough money for her to be significantly financially secure. So it was more of a need type of business. And it taught me that. It showed me I don't want to go have a business that requires me to get up at 3 a.m. in the morning to head to a market on a weekend.
No, definitely not.
And that's what she was doing for a long time. And that showed me that. So, and then my father, he's been a university professor while he's retired now, but when he was working, and he also had a business on the side, which was, I think, more of his interest. He had a Gestalt therapy, workshops, training. My whole family is full of therapists and counselors and psychologists. And he's been in that area. He taught social work at university as a professor. But he's a lot more, mainstream. He's never really wanted to have his own business. He makes a great speaker. He's the kind of person who, you set up the event, I'll show up and talk and get paid to be the expert. He doesn't want to organize. He doesn't want to create the foundation of people. He just wants to do the teaching and do the performing. He really is a performer.
It's a star profile then in wealth dynamics terms.
Yeah. I'd say so, yes. So, those are two examples. I don't think I had any true role models in my family in regards to what I did. And how could you? Because the internet came along. I know business was always there, but the internet really changed the dynamic about how you do business. And it was timing for me. I happened to be growing up at the same time the internet grew up, and that was helpful in a lot of ways. So to answer your question, with money, I just knew I wanted some form of income that wasn't doing things I didn't want to do. That, for me, I didn't have necessarily multi-million-dollar dreams. It was, I have to make enough to live off, and I ideally have fairly near passive income streams. That was my initial thinking, just so I could.
In NLP terms, you're an away from person rather than a towards kind of person.
I think initially I was, certainly. Yeah. I definitely was trying to avoid pain in that regard.
Pain of going to work.
Yeah. What happened, though, is as I went down this path, my eyes opened to how people actually do get rich. Like, you don't really understand it initially. You sort of see rich people and you don't know what they're doing. And that's why those books were so helpful.
Yeah.
Because you just see, okay, they sell this thing, and this is how they reached all these customers. And all these customers bought it. That made a lot of money. It's not that difficult to think about. What was really important was understanding business models. That, for me, was an absolute eye-opener, because I really saw that certain business models lend themselves to significant amounts of money reasonably easier compared to other business models, which can be worse than a job, that require more hours and don't make much money at the end of the day. So, that's the difference between owning your local coffee shop versus owning a franchise of 50 coffee shops. It's the very different types of business models there. And I could see, do I want to be the one serving the coffee? No. Did I want to be the one collecting the profits from all the different coffee shops? That sounded more appealing. So that's the sort of things I started to look at as I became more aware. And I started to meet rich people. That was the other thing, too. Thanks to my blogging, a lot of the people we've mentioned on this call, Rich Sheffrin, and then there was also Mike Filsame and Jeff Walker. There was these people who were multi-millionaire internet marketers. And actually, one of the best business models I discovered, even better than blogging, was email marketing because of these guys. I remember Terry Dean was probably the first person who I heard a story of writing an email. He wrote this one email and he made $96,000 in commissions as a result of one email to his email list.
Because you weren't building an email list at the beginning, were you? You started that a bit later.
My second year of blogging was when I started my email list, so I was definitely late to the game. I was still way ahead of the curve for bloggers. Absolutely. No one was doing email lists for blogging. It was all about RSS feeds then. But I took maybe 10 people or 10, training materials telling me start a list, that I actually did. And that's when I started to make my income. That's when my income went to six figures. If it wasn't for the list and my own product, I wouldn't have broken the six figures mark. And then go on to make $500,000 a year, a couple of years in a row with my business as well. That's because I sold my own products and have an email list. I could reach people. I could do direct response marketing. I learned more about copywriting. But more importantly, I had access to people through this mechanism called email, which is still today the most powerful tool. So I think what happened is my ambition grew as my knowledge grew when it came to money. And once you break 100,000 a year, you gain some freedoms. Then that really is more than enough to cover your bases, especially as a single person, which I was, for all that time. So when you're doing 10,000 a month, you might have 2,000 in expenses, but it was $8,000 in liquid cash every month for me. I during that the first couple of years of blogging after I started to figure it out, and then once you make $500,000 a year, blogging has got a pretty good profit margin. I was keeping about 70% of that in terms of money in the bank.
Taxes become an issue.
Well, yeah, that was where the 30% went, right? So, but still, that's when property just became, where else do you put your money? Well, you put it into property because that's what everyone does. So I don't necessarily agree with that now, but that's what I did then. And it definitely has shifted and still shifted. Like when you see what guys are doing today, John Lee Dumas is a good example with what he does with webinars. It's incredible.
Unbelievable. I mean, six figures, 250,000 a month income. I've got to tell you, that's what jolted me into action on my podcast again. Hearing that story.
Yeah. Well, when you see that, it's just basically He's buying traffic, using email marketing, and using the webinar to convert customers. Of course, he's got a great product and he's built himself some solid credibility and trust, but that's the sales funnel he's built. And we all have access to that potential through the internet. It's just, tweaking each part of the process, the opt-in, the conversion, the webinar presentation, the quality product, and having something worthwhile to teach. That's obviously an important component too, that people actually want.
Yeah.
So, you can see it. And that's what happens when you start studying this stuff. Your eyes open to the business models that people are using to make a lot of money. And then you start thinking, well, I can do that. And that's pretty much what happened throughout my entire career, especially when I became open to the world of direct response email marketing. That really was an eye opener. And I haven't quite reached the John Lee Dumas's level. I do remember after with Terry Dean with his email marketing, and then Jeff Walker with the product launch formula, and then Evan Pagan and Rick Sheffrin shortly after that. All those guys were basically using emails, and there was all these launches happening. And then, I started doing affiliate promotions too. And even if you take away my own products, I remember promoting pretty much every 2 or 3 months a launch, and every time making between $10,000 and $25,000 in affiliate commissions. And
because you built up the trust with your readership.
Yeah, built the trust and a quality launch process from these guys that I was promoting. Great information, great products, right target audience. I love their products too. I product launch formula. I've gone through Evan Pagan stuff. I just love it. Rich Sheffrin's business growth system. Really love that too. And it's my passion. I love internet marketing, so I really enjoy all the products as well. And then when you get good at writing and telling these stories like we talked about, that's what you do. You, like Andre does, that you're like following him. You write these emails, tell these stories, you educate and help people and recommend products. And then when you get a $500 to $1,000 commission per sale, and you can sell 10 copies, you're making $10,000. So it's and it's just a few emails
as an add-on on top of your own income, because I know that you've got you're going through your products, and I know you've got EJ Insider program now, which I'm a member of course. I signed up straight away as soon as you launched it. And so that's another thing, isn't it? Is having recurring income is a real backbone of an internet marketer's money strategy.
Yeah, I've really been fleshing out the whole blog sales funnel, as I call it, and I'm starting to see the layers come together with what works really well right now. The way I mean, this is not new in some regards, but I'm sort of applying it to blogging as well. And what seems to be a great structure, there's two ways I see people do this. You've got I just have one flagship product, and often that's a higher end product. It's $1,000 to $2,000 course or something like that. And often you'll find an expert just come out and do a webinar, promote the course. It's the Lewis Howes models of net webinar marketing.
Yeah.
Of which I think John Lee Dumas certainly followed.
He launched Podcasters Paradise like that, yeah.
Yeah, and that's what Lewis Howes pioneered several years ago when he was really getting into webinar marketing with his friend Sean. And they were doing similar things, but often with affiliate marketing. So there's that, and that works great, especially if you're confident in your market and you've got this great product or you can create it. I've wanted to really have a lot of niche products as well as the flagship stuff, so I've sort of reverse engineered it, and I've seen the structure. You've got the front end products, which has always been the case for a sales funnel. You've got low priced front end products that are designed to introduce people to your paid products, over deliver in value, and create a customer. It's always hardest to get a customer, and it's obviously going to be easier to sell a $30 ebook than a $1,000 course. You're going to get more customers. But then after that, you've got the opportunities for bundling and upselling. So the way I'm looking at it now, it's sub $50 products as upsells, so $50 or less. And then as part of the checkout process for those products, you're offering your tier 1 continuity or membership or subscription, as you mentioned earlier. And that just helps to turn a $30 purchase into a $100 to $200 purchase paid out over monthly subscriptions. And then you've got whatever next level of training you offer, which might be that $1,000 course, of which there will also then be a higher end subscription program, which might be more like a coaching like we're doing with EJ Insider, a bit more time spent with one coach.
Yeah.
And then, of course, you've got your live events and your year-long high-end coaching and things like that. So that's a funnel that I find at the moment for me is what I'm really focused on. And I'm enjoying it because what I love about it, it gives me a resource to send to people too, regardless of what they ask me. It's like someone says, I have no idea what to get into, like what subject to get into. I say, well, don't even worry about that. Go buy a blog. And then here's my free email course on buying and selling websites, which leads to my guide on buying and selling blogs and websites. So that's one answer there. And then someone says, well, I've got no traffic, but here's the traffic free course and the traffic product. Someone else says, well, I really just want to ask you a bunch of questions. Well, here's my coaching program, or here's my private consulting fee. And you've got an answer to every person, and that's more tailored, which allows you to get a higher conversion rate, to get a higher number of customers, which over the lifetime of their relationship with you means you will make more money, and because they're going to be more involved with what you do. Plus, I think it's just really satisfying because as a content creator, there's so much in my head that I want to have out in the world. It's like an author who's got 10 books in them and they haven't had a chance to get it out there. That's how I felt 2 years ago. I just had all my products had been taken offline, and I was like, I know so much about buying and selling websites because I just spent 2 or 3 years just doing that as a passive income strategy. And I know so much now about blogging, and I know so much about setting up digital products for sale. And I'm learning so much now about product funnels, and all of this is stuff I want to have out there. But you have to get good at rapid product creation, get good at your pricing structures, your conversion, your technology for delivering all these products and taking the money, and there's a lot to it. So that's what I've been working on for the last 2 years now, or really ever since I started selling products, which was back in 2007.
You've been listening to Nicola Cairncross on the Money Gym podcast. If you'd like to find out more about the Money Gym and how we can help you become more financially intelligent, just come on over to themoneygym.com. We'll see you over there.